Last week, the New York Times ran a story about COVID in China headlined, "From Zero COVID to No Plan, Behind China's Pandemic U-Turn." The Times subheadline bitterly lamented, "After micromanaging the coronavirus strategy for nearly 3 years, the country's leader, Xi Jinping, has suddenly left the populace to improvise." As everyone knows, China didn't avoid COVID. But a fact that may not be well known by your pro-injection friends especially is that China's benevolent dictators avoided giving their own subjects mRNA shots. That's odd, huh? Given how safe and effective they are, you would think China would do anything to get to zero COVID. The Times went on to say that a couple of weeks ago, China finally abandoned its draconian, my words, not the Times words, COVID zero approach to the pandemic, which the Times feels left dejected Chinese officials scrambling to manage the disarray and uncertainty. The Times glumly reported that warnings about the dangers of the coronavirus have swiftly disappeared, replaced by official claims that the Omicron variant is generally mild. Official claims. The Omicron is generally mild. Claims? The Times didn't comment on the statement either way. Well, honestly, how could they? After all, it's not like globally we're a year past Omicron, time which would have allowed anyone to verify the statement or something. Like a dog to shit, the Times returned to its early pandemic doomsday prophecies and pulled out the timeless classic overwhelmed hospitals. Of course, they didn't support this with facts and or statistics. No siree. They relied on what passes for investigative journalism these days. Quoting random anonymous doctors and nurses. The Times crack team reported that a doctor in a city hospital said on social media that primary care has exploded with COVID patients and more than half of the doctors and nurses in the respiratory disease section were infected. A doctor on social media. Now that's journalism, folks. I wonder which social media that was on. Given how tightly that Chinese officials regulate information with the help of our big tech, I personally would find it surprising that a story highlighting any failing in China's policy would see the light of day, especially now. Of course, the Times found this doctor and interviewed him or her, right? Oh, for the record, in China, it's still him or her. Nope, they didn't. Maybe the speed of journalism or something. Maybe the Times readers can't read social media posts for themselves, and that's why they rely upon the crack journalists at the Times to do it for them. You would think that the Times would be cheering the fact that China has finally abandoned a policy which clearly hasn't worked in China or anywhere else in the world. You would think that the Times would be cheering the fact that Chinese citizens will no longer be locked down like sardines indefinitely in their homes at the whim of their government. Well, you would be wrong. Shame on you and shame on China for now wanting to abandon COVID zero, now almost 3 years into the pandemic. That's the tone of the story. Which begs the million-dollar question as to why. Simple. Because it was never about science, but about ultimate control of the citizens. Unfortunately, for most of our ruling class, power is an aphrodisiac. Think Trudeau. Deep down, these folks were secretly rooting for China to succeed and somehow magically wipe out COVID. Because if the communist nation could finally show how successful COVID zero was, that would silence pandemic response critics such as you and me. In other words, if COVID zero worked, we should have all done it from the start, and that's what we should do next time. Remember, these are fanboys and girls of the communist system, and this accomplishment of COVID zero would have finally put to rest the age-old question, the age-old debate of which system of governance is better, a democracy led by the people or a communist dictatorship led by the ruling class, and provide the necessary justification for taking away your freedoms, not only over the past 3 years, but more importantly, for years to come. Anyway, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Please post any comments you have in the comment section. You can also follow me on my Rumble and my Locals account. If you're new to the channel and haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And if you haven't seen some of the other videos, check them out. And as always, I welcome your comments and thoughts. See you next time.